Hey everyone, it's Caden with Zero Issue Comics.
And me, Brianna.
So let's talk DCKO Boss Battle, written by Jeremy Adams and drawn by Carmine Di Giandomenico and Ronan Cliquet. DCKO is essentially just a knockout dragon punch out in the DC universe.
That's
So
all
the
it
best
is.
way to describe it is,
Oh yeah, man. You just get all the toys.
yeah, it's all the toys, and I think it's fun for the most part. But Boss Battle was what they marketed back at New York City Comic Con last year, where they were going to have special guest characters for those of you that are familiar
Yeah.
with like fighting games like Mortal Kombat. And these included other comic book characters from other publishers like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Vampirella, Red Sonja, probably to Brianna's delight.
Yes, much to my joy.
Samantha the Bear from Beneath the Trees, Where Nobody Sees. And I think the most exciting part of the crossover was Homelander from The Boys, just in the sense that we were going to finally get a canon Homelander versus Superman fight.
Yeah,
And then,
man. Who doesn't want that?
Yeah, no, like who doesn't want to see Superman pummel Homelander?
Yeah, he should get everything he deserves, man.
And unfortunately, he doesn't in this book.
He does not.
And then there was some other characters. They felt less special just because there were other Warner Brothers owned IPs, like Annabelle the doll for some reason, and some Mortal
She was
Kombat.
my favorite part, frankly.
she was the best part of the book. But I feel like this book was it was a very marketed book, at least a few months ago. It was a very big deal at New York City Comic Con. However, I felt like upon actual delivery, it was a very underbaked comic.
Kind of bad, really, because there's a lot of cool stuff that could have been done with this, and I feel like that it was just kind of like, okay, here's the bare minimum of what we have to do to make this all work.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Well, and I think it's frustrating because it's not only is it dependent on DCKO, which I think is acceptable for a tie-in, but it's also predicated on all the DCKO backups in the other tie-ins.
Yes.
So, we're following Gorilla Grodd and the World Forger. Gorilla Grodd is great, but like, who cares about the World Forger?
Well, frankly, even having read like the Justice League stuff and like the other DC event stuff so far, I was like, okay, but who cares? Like I don't even care about this guy.
Yeah, so they literally hit the pause button in between DCKO issue 3 and 4, and they're like, oh, okay, before you guys face off against the absolute characters, we need more Omega energy, which makes
you're losing right now.
Yeah,
because bad.
Yeah, because apparently they're just going to lose to the absolute Trinity just out of the gate. So they're like, well, we need to dig into the multiverse and get some other characters, and that's when they fight these crossover characters.
With where the absolute characters, I know this isn't really about the book, but with the characters how they are right now, do you really think that the main universe characters would lose against the absolute characters?
I don't think these are the actual absolute characters. I think they're avatar
clearly not.
representations, because I even doubt, like, there's even a part of me that wonders, because so far, like with Night Fight and everything else like that we've seen, this is like the Heart of Apocalypse, like manifesting these things. So I'm inclined not to believe that this is the actual absolute Trinity.
They're like golems, and so you don't get all of the things about them that really make them what they are. So that makes sense.
So before they have to fight them, they're going to fight these characters from other universes. And I feel like saying that they fight these characters is an understatement. And just to, contextualize everything, it's Superman, Wonder Woman, Lex Luthor, and the Joker. And then they bring back some of the other fighters. So Batwoman, Plastic Man, Black Lightning, and Star Sapphire are the other 4 characters. And I don't know, Brianna, what did you think of this?
Okay, well, my first question was, having not read Under the Trees, that's its name, right?
Yeah, Beneath the Trees.
Beneath the Trees? I was like, wait, is this a spoiler? Like, am I supposed to not know this?
You know she's a serial killer in the first issue.
Oh, okay.
It's just Dexter, but with, anthropomorphic animals.
I see. Okay,
do you remember those Franklin books as a kid?
Yes.
It's that, but, serial killers.
I see. That's interesting.
It was fun. I don't know. It was widely celebrated when it came out in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
I think I liked it a little bit less than everybody else. I would still definitely read more, but having read it only recently, actually as a lead up for this event, just so I could have some context, which turns out I
Sure.
didn't need any, I feel like.
No, you did not. I know I didn't.
And granted,
Um,
like Lex's reaction, because it's Lex versus Samantha the Bear, and Superman versus Homelander, which is I think the most underwhelming part of this book is
sure.
and then Star Sapphire, I wouldn't say
And
fights
Sabrina,
Sabrina, but
right?
they hang out. And then
Just
Vampirella
like
and
Annabelle.
Batwoman. Yeah, well, Annabelle and Joker have a tea party, which
They have
which is
tea.
fun.
I love that.
And I think it's fun, and I think it's the reason and this is something that I think you off mic you said that you saw coming. It was just too many characters for a single comic.
Yeah.
And
Nobody really
you're
gets any time to do anything remarkable at all. I'll forget about
no.
this over the course of the next several weeks.
And the other frustrating thing is I feel like if you saw any of the previews for this book, you had this book spoiled for you.
Sure, yeah. If you looked at it at all, you're like, oh, look, the one panel where they fight, and that was like
Yeah.
a third of the whole thing.
Yeah, so I guess what moments did you like from the book?
I mean, I did like Wonder Woman and Red Sonja, but that's because those two characters that
Mhm.
I really do genuinely love, and I do think that that interaction scratches the surface of what would happen if they were to meet, in the sense that if they had to do combat together, or if they were to meet, they probably would spar, and that they would have, they would have great respect for each other. But that is like so surface level, and I like that they both give each other advice. Like they're like, no, you need to understand this, and the other's like, no, you need to understand this. And I do appreciate that, because I do think it would happen,
Mhm.
while they still had high respect for one another. But at the same time, it's like, okay, that was my favorite interaction, and yet it was still like very shallow, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, and I guess for me, the most frustrating thing about the Superman Homelander crossover is, and it didn't, it because each crossover gets what, about 3 pages? Would you say 2.5 pages
Yeah,
total?
and some like Vampirella and Batwoman, like it's like
Oh, half
4
a page.
panels total.
Yeah. And well, and the Vampirella Batwoman thing practically feels like they just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
It I saw some people online talking about like, oh, it's cool that I get to see this representation of these two queer women like interacting with each other.
Yes.
But it's more
Too
like,
bad they didn't get to
oh,
interact with each other.
it's like you look cool, I look cool. We should do something with that.
Let's hang out later, but not right
Yeah.
now.
Well, and then the frustrating thing with Superman Homelander is it only has 3 pages of actual content. And I've seen fan artwork, fan comics, achieve more in that interaction with like 1 or 2 panels, let alone several pages. So it's just nothing was dynamic about it and nothing was interesting.
And nothing was said.
Nothing was said. Well, especially seeing how like with where we're at with Superman, it would be really nice to have Superman like essentially talk to like interact with Homelander and put down in some meaningful way like who he is as a character, because he's the epitome of evil Superman, which is something that's dominated pop culture in a lot of ways for the past like 15, 20 years.
Yes, and Superman is the main character of this event for all intents and
Mhm.
purposes. This story is about him, and you
Mhm.
have this opportunity too where it's like he's, there's this chance that like the world could be shaped in the image of Superman if he wins this fight. Like that's a really good opportunity to be like, yeah, people are like evil Superman and everything, but it's like
Here's
that's
a
not.
world that here's a
Yeah,
world that's shaped by a dark mirror of me in some
yeah, that could
meaningful
be,
way.
especially since just in this last issue, like
Mhm.
Superman is like finally leaning into of DCKO, he's leaning into that idea of like he likes winning. And so that could
Mhm.
be an interesting idea to explore of like, well, what if, you know,
Yeah, like right when he's kind of if the heart of apocalypse is corrupting him in any way, let's mirror that with the most corrupted Superman analog that we have out there
right.
in Homelander. And
Yes.
and I completely understand why this happens. It's a standard comic book crossover thing, but nobody wins, which I'm fine with. But I feel like even Garth Ennis would be okay with Homelander losing to Superman, seeing how when you read Garth Ennis's Hitman, the only superhero he has any respect for is Superman.
What's funny about that to me is the fact that, like, it doesn't even have to be, like, a physical win. Like, it doesn't even have
Mhm.
to be that he, actually physically beats Homelander. It could have just
Mhm.
been an emotional win for
Or
him, but
like, yeah,
nothing.
or even like just like you're small,
Yep.
like
You don't
something.
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like, like you could be so much more and this is what you choose to be. Like
Mhm.
it's fun, but like it's not. I would say that's the least substantial and most disappointing aspect of the crossover. I would
Yeah.
say the things that I end up liking the most were the parts of the comic that I was the least interested in, like Joker
Yes.
Annabelle
And
or
Joker Annabelle.
Plastic Man and Black Lightning fighting Scorpion and Sub-Zero was more fun than the actual comic crossovers. Granted, I
Yes.
think the Sabrina moment is cute. Like,
I
I
agree.
think she does, Star Sapphire's like, hey, I think we need to fight. And she's like, why? And I'm like, oh, that's in character. I really liked it. That felt inherently part of the Archie universe. I was like, okay, that's fun. But the Plastic Man moment, at least we get to play with it. We get, a Scorpion does his signature move of get over here. And then Plastic Man gets to do it. There's a Groundhog's Day reference in Plastic Man's dialogue.
I
Did you
didn't
catch
catch
that?
that. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
so when they fall into the Mortal Kombat universe, Plastic Man says that first step is a doozy.
Oh, I did catch that. I had just forgotten about it, but
Which
yes, I did
I
remember
don't think
that.
we would have caught. I don't think I would have caught that unless we'd seen that movie within the past week.
Look out for that first step.
So it's written by Jeremy Adams. Yeah, Jeremy Adams handled most of the crossovers one shots in this issue. Most of the crossover one shots in this event. I would say this is the best of the few that he's done.
I agree.
But I think it was a little less than substantial, and I don't know if that's a timing thing because I don't know if they got all these rights, you know, in a fairly short amount of time. But the art was really solid.
I liked the
Uh
art.
yeah, I feel like the scripting is less than substantial, and I think the frustrating thing is I've seen people have fun create fun interactions with these characters in fewer panels and fewer pages than Jeremy Adams has available to him, and it's still not quite there. Um
Rushed is how it feels to me. It feels
mm,
like he just didn't have enough time to think of anything interesting by the time the deadline came around, and it was like, "Okay, well, I gotta do something, so I'm
mhm.
just gonna do what's basic and come to mind," even though
Yeah.
I only came up with clever interactions for 1 or 2 of these pairings.
Well, and that's what's so funny to me is it feels like even though it is a tie-in and it inherently is like you should be able to skip it, like any good tie-in, I feel like it shouldn't be necessary to understand the main event. However, when you get this large of an IP, like, and you get to cross over this much, it felt like it should have been issue 3.5, and instead it's disposable. It,
Right.
it and it's very frustrating because I feel like I don't know when we're gonna get the next chance to see these crossovers, especially like Sam from Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees.
Yeah.
Like, there I don't expect her to have a major crossover with anybody
Oh,
in the future. And Homelander, maybe, Vampirella, Red Sonja, they cross over all the time,
all the time.
even though it's insane that she hasn't had a crossover with Wonder Woman yet.
That is when I first started reading Red Sonja, that was the biggest thing that surprised me.
Well, and I think there's especially seeing how I think there's two Wonder Woman Conan crossovers.
Yeah.
And the fact that Red Sonja, you'd think she would cross over with Wonder Woman before Conan, but I don't know. It's just I don't know when we're gonna see this next, and that's the only thing that makes me sad about these crossovers. Like I'm happy we have it; it's fun, but I wish it was a little bit more substantial than that. I think it could have been more fun because I don't want a crossover to be deep or meaningful in any way.
That's
You
not what
know,
it's for.
but I shouldn't be leaving it saying, well, I wish it was more fun, and especially with the limited page real estate, because even in the Batman, Deadpool, Batman crossovers, there was tons of backups that were very short
Yeah,
and were able to get the most out of them.
managed to do a good job. Yes.
Yeah. I think like the one that I keep thinking about is the Constantine Doctor Strange crossover, and the fact that it's also a stealth Swamp Thing Ghost Rider, and
Yes.
like Necron and Mephisto crossover. You know, they get a lot of squeeze from that, and it's a shorter book than this one. This has a full 22 page comic, and
Right.
it's just not quite there.
I'm willing to give it a little bit of grace in the sense that these are not normally characters that previously you would have thought about, oh, well, what happens if these characters meet? Because it's kind of bound by the story it's already taking place in and everything. But at the same time, I feel like that even in the short amount of time that like we've talked about it, we've come up with ideas that would have been potentially more interesting
Yeah.
than what we got.
Well, and I haven't brought this up. I've thought about it since they announced Sabrina crossing over. Star Sapphire's the wrong character to cross over with Sabrina.
And who do you think?
You pick Zatanna.
And Zatanna,
who's been in this book
and has had major things to do. I feel like in specifically with the one shot that she had with Harley, I feel like that could have been set up really well. She just had to fight a really good friend, and then maybe she could be reminded that she doesn't have to, fight. That could be really interesting.
She finds a new friend in Sabrina, like, and the fact that Sabrina is like, no, like we could figure this out, like, which I think to some extent is antithetical to the book. And if it is, like, okay, what messages are we saying about the story? And like, is it significant in any meaningful way? Or it's frustrating to a degree.
Yes. Fun to see. Fun to watch everybody fight.
Fun to look at.
For a bit.
Missed opportunity.
I agree.
And I know you haven't read this, but it reminds me a lot of the Marvel DC crossover, the Marvel versus DC crossover of the late 90s, where they had the fight, and then it was all fan voted over like, oh, who wins, and so they'll do 2 different panels of who won. And that's how this entire book feels. It just feels like those panels. It doesn't even feel like a complete book. It just feels like a snapshot. Yeah. And that's what's so disheartening about the book. But, I don't think it's all doom and gloom. And I don't think it's a bad book. It's, it's entertaining. It's just.
Everybody always wants more than what they get out of crossovers like these.
Yes, that's true. But I also think that we should expect more from our, and I don't even mean the artists. I mean, like, I think this is on Jeremy Adams to a degree. I think we should expect more to push this and take advantage of that.
I agree.
But we're in an age where Marvel and DC are crossing over, which I didn't think was possible 2 or 3 years ago. And the fact that they've gotten these crossovers, and the fact that Dynamite in particular is always down to clown. I think this isn't the last time we've seen it. So at least as far as you're concerned, specifically, Red Sonja Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
I think it's on the horizon.
Do it. And let's get Gail Simone to write it.
I think. Oh yeah, that's a good pick. I guess who's your artist then?
There are so many good choices, and Wonder Woman, Red Sonja, like that's just easy to draw. You don't even need some superstar. Just give somebody who wants the chance, honestly, to do it. Like I would be happy with anybody who's just excited to draw the characters.
And I think it's a real possibility that's something that we'll get in the next 2 years as a result of this crossover.
That'd be great.
Let us know what you guys thought of DCKO boss battle down in the comments below. Maybe we're wrong, and maybe you even disagree with us and you think Homelander should beat Superman.
Yeah,
let us know in the comments, guys. Ooh. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.